Your place
Hey,
is cool. Look at that.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Also to you as well. I see all the Superman paraphernalia
Oh
back
yeah.
there.
Yeah. I got a lot of Superman stuff.
The stuff you can't get away from, you know.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nigeria Chambers of Big Oak Media, and David, is a pleasure to talk to you today about Upload Season 3, your episode 5 of Season 3, Rescue Mission. I have a lot of questions, but I just want to make sure that folks just understands just how important you've been to a lot of my favorite shows in the past. Number one, you returned back to Upload after directing episode 7 of season 1, but also you wear multiple hats in all of Upload, period. So if I understand correctly, co-executive producer, consulting producer. Do you have, is there any other director, obviously, is there anything else I'm missing, I think?
I'm the editor. I'm one
And
of
the
the one of
editor,
the I'm the
yes.
one of the editors on the show.
There
So
you go. So all things Upload at some point lands on your table. And I definitely appreciate not only the work you've done for this, but we got to go back to some of the other greats in terms of Entourage and The Office and Space Force. So I definitely want to start off by asking about your relationship with the iconic Greg Daniels. Could you talk about you two's friendships over the years, some of your moments that you cherish, and then ultimately being a part of a journey together, still making great stuff in 2023.
yeah, I love Greg Daniels. I met Greg. I was editing the Seinfeld DVDs, all the extras for the Seinfeld DVDs. I was an assistant editor on the show years and years ago, and it was before DVDs came out. So once
Yeah,
DVDs came out, we went back to the show and said, "Oh, let's put these out on DVD, and we'll pack them with lots of documentaries and things."
yeah, yeah.
While I was working on that, a producer I had worked with on another show, NewsRadio, Kent Zabornak, he said, "Hey, I got a show. We just did a pilot. I would love for you to meet with the showrunner, Greg Daniels. I think you would be a great fit to edit the show." I was like, "Okay." He sent me the pilot. I was blown away. It was so it was so cringy and dark. And I there's one moment where Steve Carell does an impression of the $6 million man. He goes,
Yeah.
"I'm a huge $6 million man fan," and I was like, "I'm doing this show." So I met with Greg. I went to his office, where we were. They had started kind of editing the pilot, getting ready to shoot the next 5 episodes of season 1. And we had lunch and we just talked, about the pilot and shows that we liked and things like that. And I said, I remember saying, I think Star Trek is too mainstream for Dwight. I think he would like something like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
That's that's smaller and more niche. I could see him at his desk and having a Viper sitting on his desk. And it was funny the way that kind of evolved. But that was it. We just hit it off, and then I was hired. And my first day on set was the first day of shooting Diversity Day, and it was so much fun and just so great and so special. And it just, I mean, I couldn't believe the material that we were getting. And there's stuff now that you can't do that now. And I think even that episode, like, they pull it off in syndication.
Yeah.
And look, I just want to look, there's jokes about blacks, Jews,
Hmm.
gays, Asians, whatever. The joke is not on them. The joke is how ignorant Michael Scott is. Every time, that's the joke. But to me, it was this comedy was so funny, and I wasn't familiar with the British version of the show. So
Hmm.
anyway, that was it. Greg and I, we just hit it off. Once we started editing, we were cutting together. We were doing different versions of things, even the theme song, putting different, cutting the main title, the theme song. So that was it. We worked together for many, many years on that show.
Yeah.
I started producing, overseeing post. I started directing, and it was just a great, great experience. Really, really great. And then once Upload, I went to the Mindy Project afterwards. I
Mhm.
worked with Mindy Kaling on the Mindy Project when The Office ended. When that show ended, we did I think I did 4 or 5 years on that show. And then Greg said, "Hey, I got a pilot. Here's the script, upload." I was like, "Oh, this is great." And that was it. Then we were working hard on the pilot. Then the series got picked up, and I do anything whenever he calls. Yep, I'll be there. People were there's news of an Office reboot, and they're like, people are texting me, "Are you going to do the show? Or what's going on? Is there a reboot?" I'm like, "Look, I don't know what's going on, if there's a reboot or not, but yes, I'm sure I will do it. If anything comes up, I'm sure Greg will call me, and I will do it." But we have a good time together. We definitely have a lot of fun in the edit bay, and it's he's a joy to work with. Very, very particular, knows what he wants,
Yeah.
knows when it's not there, when it's not there yet,
Yeah.
so but he's great. And I'll say something, he's so, I always used to say, who was so smart on the show. We had so many smart people like Greg, Mike Schur, Paul Feig, Paul Lieberstein. I mean, just so Mindy Kaling, BJ Novak, so many smart people on the show. So I'm always amazed. You just trust, and you're like, sometimes he does something and you don't understand why, and then you figure out later, oh God, that was brilliant. And and he's such a great writer. He's such a great writer.
Yeah, and I just want to say, as a fan and a consumer of all these titles, we tremendously thank you for the entertainment over the years. And whether we get a Office reboot, many more seasons of Space Force, many more seasons of Upload, we're satisfied. And the rewatchability, even though as you mentioned, some of it's kind of cringe thinking about how far we came in society. It's still just great television nonetheless. And I should also attest that what you all have created has just been really the foundation of a lot of folks really trying to emulate that same level of success. I know you had a lot of fun in doing so, but you all have pretty much engraved your names in history and legacy in terms of creating that what they call it, mockuseries style of television. Yeah, mockumentary. Yeah, which is, again, you see it happen, but it's never anything of that level of what you all are able to produce. So I know it's probably a lot to take in, but you got to really pinch yourself and realize, like, you all have created something at the highest tier that there hasn't been anything close to it.
So it's so strange too, because like I said, I'm a big fan of things, sci-fi and comic books and superheroes. And one of the things I like, with Star Wars and Star Trek, they have all this merchandising and marketing. Who would have thought that a show that got picked up for 5 episodes would still have such popularity and have products, the Funko figures, Lego. I mean, the shirts, I see people have things, and I'm always amazed at, action figures and things like. I'm always amazed at wow, like the merchandising of The Office, Monopoly games. You don't know that going into the show, when you're like, okay, we got to, 5 episodes. Hopefully we'll get picked up for more. Who knows? It's a little show. Yeah. So it's exciting, and it's exciting that people are still, that it really has this rewatchability that a lot of shows don't seem to have. Even shows that, our peers at the time, it's not the same kind of thing as The Office. And I guess it just has this kind of universal appeal to people.
And honestly, as we reflect back on The Office, I think when we reflect back many years from now, we'll be saying the same thing about Upload and Space Force, that we're just witnessing greatness right now. And I can't echo enough the cast here for Upload, Andy, and it even he will forever just be AI man at this point. Like, just this period, just drop his name, just AI man. But even slipping out of my head, Emil, but
Robbie Amell.
Robbie, thank you.
We have an amazing cast. I mean, Andy Allo, Robbie Amell, Kevin Bigley, Zaynab, everybody, Owen Daniels. It's a great cast, and it took a long time to put this cast together.
Yeah,
with all the shows, Greg Daniels has had a really, really magic touch with getting a cast together, and Upload is no exception.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing what they bring to the show just their professionalism, their sense of humor, their timing, their instincts, their even just improvising things.
Yeah.
Really, really talented, great group to work with. We got together, a bunch of us got together at Greg's actually for just kind of to celebrate that the season 3 is now streaming, and Robbie's up in Toronto. And so we Zoomed with him, and there was a moment with Kevin, who plays Luke, and Robbie, and Robbie's on the screen, and I was like, "Oh, it's like we're in Lakeview," and he's, out in the real world, like we're, communicate like Luke and Nathan talking to each other. Anyway,
I literally was going to say, if Kevin by any means just became to any stretch obsessed with Robbie at this little Zoom, shall I say, like a portrayal of Luke and Nathan, I probably would have just lost my mind there. That's like one of my favorite elements of this, is just how much Luke really loves Nathan, really wants to be Nathan, even towards the end of this episode, because we all talk about episode 5 here, of him just saying like, hey, we're out in the Chickmonks here. Like, it's the 3 of us here. But I definitely want to get into some specifics of this episode here. And I want to start off with a question really pertaining to the episode. If you met a clone of yourself, what would be the first thing you'll do?
Oh my God. I'd probably be like, all right, you go to work, I'll take a nap. I'm going to the beach. You do some editing, directing. I need a break. Yeah, it's a weird thing to think about, meeting, a copy of yourself that's almost the same, but not quite, doesn't quite have all the memories or experiences that you have.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting thing. And especially if there's only, if just the, who gets your friends, who's hanging out with who, who's doing the chores, and, so it's a weird thing,
I love how Nora says what all of us is thinking, and she's just like, two Nathans. I never thought I could fantasize.
2 Nathans, 1 Nora. Yeah.
And I definitely want to give a shout out to the writer of this episode, Stephanie M. Johnson. I thought you two really put together a fantastic episode. A lot of good jokes, a lot of good moments. I mean, again, AI guy, one of my favorite characters, and I just can't help but to just laugh at just the shenanigans that AI guy goes on in this episode.
This is a big episode for him. This is something they haven't seen yet on the show.
Yeah,
with him, and Owen really gets to shine. Having a lot. In most of the episodes, he's interacting in person with the main cast most of the time in Lakeview. So this was something different for him, and he's got a lot of, he carries a lot of scenes, very, very funny, and I think people are going to be happy and entertained by as you said, his AI guy shenanigans.
I also got to say too, I had the same exact reaction as Alicia when we see a sign of empathy from AI guy. And everybody's like, wait, what? What's happening here? Which is just a kind of a mind-blowing moment there. And then leave it up to AI guy to make normal things weird. The charging station scene here. Just talk to me about when this all came about here.
The charging station scene was something that Greg came up with, I think, in conjunction with Stephanie, and really shaped this kind of moment and said, the AI guy is going to see this charging station out in the world, and he's going to be I don't know how to say this. It's going to have an effect on him. Let's just say that. And I didn't get it at first. Listen, when I get the script as a director, I'm asking lots of questions. And I said, what is this? What does this mean? And even the design, Greg was like, it's got to have a hole, and it's got to, I was like, so he's attracted to this, like, because it's a machine, like, does he not know what it does? It's a weird moment, but in the scheme of things, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense for AI guy. And
it also makes sense for us too, because I mean, when these started popping up on the scene, a lot of us were thinking like, what is that over there? Like, what's occupying that whole block of that parking lot? Obviously, we don't go to this AI guy, but like his curiosity of like, what is this? So I was like, yeah. And then he does AI guy things. So like, of course. Because we're coming up on time, I definitely have to ask about another scene. Also, I love the nod to calling AI guy Eric Sharon. Just spit my water out. It was hilarious. Cool idea talking about Ingrid, who's one of my favorite characters. I know the fans are really, really slowly turning the page on her. It was good to kind of see her get out and kind of gossip with her girlfriends, kind of see her in her natural element a little bit. But also things got weird with her. Who idea was it to come up with this virtual animal workout thing? Like, talk to me through that.
Again, this is Greg and Stephanie and the writers putting together this thing. One of the things with Ingrid, we're really seeing a different side of her in this episode, in this season, really. Yep. Where we're she's shown moments of sympathy before. She's been protective of Nathan's niece. We see her family doesn't treat her well, and so you kind of see how she's become to a certain degree the way that she is. So in this season, I think we see more of this turn from her and her insecurities, and she's still Ingrid. She still does things a lot of times from a place of fear and jealousy. But there's also there's warmth there, and there's some sensitivity, and she does some things this season that's really heartwarming.
Yeah.
With her, wanting to get out of the VR, get out of Lakeview for a bit and try to reconnect with friends in the real world. We thought, oh, what's something that she could do that's fun? And then it turns out it's going to like an exercise class, like people do Peloton, people do kickboxing and yoga and things like that. And of course, in the future though, you would be doing it in VR. Yeah. So she goes to a place and she's like, she's not participating with VR, so to speak, but she's in there, and I think it's very funny seeing how everybody else is doing these moves, and she's trying to follow along as best as possible. It's also fun to see what they look like in VR and then the reality of it. And that was that was something that we worked on to match timing and things like that, and to really make this moment and reveal shine. But I think that this was, again, just writing, Greg and Stephanie and the writing staff just coming up with, what's something to do, and tossing ideas around, and then coming up with, this is something, this horsey butt type of exercise.
Man, I really enjoyed this episode, and obviously it's been nothing but an honor to talk to you today about it. And Dave, don't wait until season 5 for us to buy your pattern or skipping season 2 in directing. Don't make us wait to season 5 to do this again. So I'm just putting it in the air. I'll see you back season 4 for another talk about your episode and you directing. And thank you for all you've done historically and all the other shows and all the different hats you've done and wear currently for Upload. But again, very much a pleasure talking to you today.
Pleasure talking to you too. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, buddy. You have a good one.
You too.